Hello everyone, today I have the installation of the 1300 drag pipes on a 2018 Triumph Bover. I will start by saying that ordering and shipping was pretty simple and it only took about 4 weeks to get from the UK to Virginia in the USA. The good news is that by the time I edited this video, 1300 opened their Colorado location and hopefully that will reduce the shipping time and cost. In regards of the wrapping and protection of the pipes during shipping, I have no complaints as they came very well secured and with no damage. I selected the pipes with a brush finish, and as you can see, the finishing is pretty good. I said that in comparison to the Acropovic headers for the R9T, these pipes are properly finished. Even the inside of the pipes are brushed as well, giving the pipes a nice detailed touch, but obviously this will eventually turn black by the exhaust fumes. The exposed welding seams also give the pipes a semi-rough look, a sweet and sour combination. Alright, let's start with the removal of the OM exhaust on the Bover. First, we will remove the bolt attaching the exhaust on the back, then we'll go to the middle bolt attaching the header to the exhaust. After that, we'll remove the clamp on the catalyst. These ones can be tricky as the space to remove them is very tight. Remove the two clamps while you are there. Now it is time to remove the bolts on the exhaust flange. I found it easier to leave the bottom flange on in order to remove the CO2 sensor. Take your time as there's nothing special about removing the flange, but just be careful as you remove the header and try not to scratch the tank. The last thing to do is to remove the bracket on the back of the frame, as it won't be used anymore. Now, let's repeat the process on the other side of the bike. Don't forget to remove the exhaust gaskets from the engine. I found the cat clamps on this side of the bike a little bit more tricky to remove. Just use a wrench and you will be fine. With the clamps removed, just pull the exhaust out and don't forget to remove the rear bracket. Now here comes the part that most people hate, removing the catalyst. To be honest, it's not that bad, but it does take a little bit of time. After removing the frame cattle brace, there are two bolts that need to be removed on the catalyst. One is on the front and the other one is on the back. Once the cat is loose, there are 5 more bolts that need to be removed. There are 2 on the top, 1 on the engine, and 2 on the back. I recommend you using a large ratchet as these bolts have heavy torque. Frame bolts have a bracket on the back that will be reused, while the engine bolt has a nut behind it. Do not lose them. Once the last bolt is removed, do not pull the frame towards you as there's an insert holding the radiator. Instead, pull the frame down until the insert is out, and as soon as the frame is loose, the cat can be removed. While the frame is loose, it is easier to remove the bracket that was holding the cat. There are 3 bolts on it, 1 on the front and 2 on the back. Now it is time to reinstall the frame. Remember to insert the frame into the radiator holder before proceeding with the reinstallation. I found it easier to install the engine bolt first, as it allowed me to move the frame around to insert the rest of the bolts. Oh, and leave them loose until all of them are installed. Once everything looks right, tighten the frame bolts at 40 Nm and 105 for the engine bolt. With the frame reinstalled, the next step is to remove the horn, as it gets on the way of the new pipes, and then remove the left side footrest and shifter. There are 2 bolts on the footrest, and for the shifter, there's only one bolt that needs to be removed. Don't forget to insert the exhaust gasket. Remove the bolt from the pipes and then insert the rubber head bolt. Make sure to add Loctite before installing it. Install the CO2 sensor on the new pipe. If you decide not to detach the sensors like me, all you need to do is turn the pipes 4 times around the sensor. Install the flange after properly tightening the CO2 sensors. And make sure they are in the correct order. Lettering on them explain which one goes on the top and which one goes on the bottom. Install the nuts loosely to keep the pipes in place. Then insert the bolt on the bottom bracket of the pipes. Insert the metal cap provided by Thornton 100 between the bolt and the rubber head bolt. Make sure you install Loctite on all the bolts. Reinstall the footrest and tighten the bolts at 24 Newton meters. Then tighten the nuts on the flange at 19 Newton meters. Reattach the shifter, making sure the marking on it matches the one on the engine, and hand tighten them. There's no need for Loctite here. Now you're finished, and there's a little problem. The kickstand now hits the pipes. The solution for this is to install the Thornton 100 kickstand damper. This is a must-have for all of Thornton 100 pipes. For some reason they sell it separately, but I think this should be included in all of their pipes for proper finish, or at least mention you need it when you're purchasing the pipes. One thing to mention is that one of the bolts provided by them is shorter than the other, and the reason for that is because of the space between the frame and the engine. Do not be alarmed if you install it, just add Loctite and you will be fine. What a difference now. Time to reinstall the horn. The only problem is that the pipe is on the way. So the solution is to flip the horn on its bracket. I know this sounds silly, as now the horn is pointing towards the back. But do not be alarmed. I have a future project and another video that will be solving this issue. So stay tuned. Now this side is finished. Let's go to the other side, and the process is almost the same but easier. First thing is to attach the CO2 sensor and then install the pipe in its place. On this side of the video you will notice a couple things that were not filmed on the other side, like adding Loctite to bolts or the copper paste on the flange. Tighten the sensor and add copper paste to the engine bolts. Make sure you do that on both sides, as I forgot to do that on the other side. The good thing is that I was able to go back and redo it. This side of the bike is easier to install, as you do not need to remove the footrest nor the frame. The rubber head bolt goes first, then the metal cap, and lastly the outer bolt. As I mentioned before, add Loctite to keep it secure. The torque on the bolt, I don't know. All I did is do it hand tight and make sure it was pretty tight. The Loctite will do the rest. Don't forget, the torque on the nuts is 19 Nm. Once the pipes are installed, it is time to reinstall the frame cradle. I was unable to find information about the torque for these bolts, so I just went for a really heavy hand tight. Now you are done installing the 1300 drag pipes. But this install is not fully complete yet, because now the engine is letting more air out and we need to make sure that we're bringing enough air in. For that, I am installing the DNA high performance air filters. The new filters are like any other high flow air filter, but come with a metal bracket to hold it in place. The first step is to remove the cover from the air box. After that, unbolt the screws from the existing filter and replace it with a DNA. On this side of the bike I had difficulties installing the filter. At first I thought it did not fit in correctly, but after moving it around, it went all the way in. If you encounter the same problem, just move it around and push it in. Install the bracket on the filter and make sure not to over tighten the screws, as they are going into plastic. Reinstall the cap and move to the other side to repeat the process. And that's it for the installation of the drag pipes. I was looking for a nice and clean straight pipe that was not a square cut on the back, and 1300 delivered just what I was looking for. The last step of the installation is to let the bike run for 10 to 15 minutes to let the bike sync itself to the new exhaust. All you have to do is to turn on the bike, let it run, and do not accelerate it. You can leave it running for 15 minutes or until the fan turns on and off. Once the fan is off, turn the bike off and you're ready to ride. The stock exhaust weighs approximately 25 pounds, while the 1300 drag pipes weigh 6.5. That is a difference of 18.5 pounds between the two. And that's finally it. This is the full installation of the 1300 drag pipes on a 2018 Triumph Bobber. I hope you liked the video and see you soon.